This is a story about how I lost $1 million. When I was 13 years old, my mother and I, we were going through a lot financially. So to help, I couldn't get a job at that point. So I opened up my first business ever. There was this little thing called Space of X. So you know me, I did what any other 14-year-old kid would do. And I ended up going on Fiverr and I hired this lady to make a t-shirt design for me. The t-shirt design will be right here. And it said, "Stop looking at my hole." It was a science t-shirt. And around the same time, they actually ended up discovering the black hole, if I remember correctly, which is actually why I got inspiration to create this show. So as time went by, I eventually hired a guy to make my logo, and then from there I went on Shopify, and I ended up launching the store. Now, I would love to tell you that, yeah, within the first month we did 9 figures, but that's not true. What actually happened was, for a grueling year, all I did was I tried to grow the business through Instagram and just simply organic posts. So what I would do is every single day, I would post like 1 post per day, and I did that for about 300 days. It wasn't that perfect. I know by the end of it, we probably ended up having like 290 something. But my point was, it was only one year, the account was growing, like skyrocketing. Like if you were to look at it, it was literally an exponential curve. So if you look here, it slowly gets up, and then boom, it skyrockets. And that's exactly what was happening with the Instagram page. Till this day, before I deleted the page, that page was literally growing every single day, even though I wasn't doing anything on there. And this is why closing Space of X is my greatest regret. Just to put everything in perspective, for if you don't have a full picture yet, the Instagram page would have been around now for the past 5 years. At the rate that it was getting followers, that account would easily have 100,000 followers within 5 years. That's pretty mediocre if you ask me, but either way, 100,000 followers, 100,000 followers. Additionally, if you were to look at my Google rankings, every single day we were ranking higher and higher because we started to build authority over everybody else. Because I had a ton of SEO, I made at least 1 blog post per week about some kind of thing in science. And then from there, they would have a whole bunch of keywords in it. So that was ranking. So if you were to put this in perspective, if I would have done 52 blog posts per year at a minimum, times 5, that would have been 260 articles optimized for SEO. Additionally, at the point where I first had the business, we only had 2 products. But if you think about this, over the past 5 years, since I closed that, I spent $26,000 on investing in the businesses. So to put this in perspective, if I would have taken all that money that I put into that, and I just would have hired people like exactly how I do things now, I guarantee you that business would have been huge. Now, before we go any further, I don't want you to think that I clickbaited you, but just to put these numbers in perspective, based off what I'm doing now, like based off how much money my business are doing now, I guarantee you, if I would have only done one thing, Space of X, now today, would have been, if not a 9-figure would have been a $1 million business. And if not, it would have been very close. I guarantee it. Because literally everything was there. I had the perfect avatar, the perfect product. And not to mention, the only thing that was missing was the media. I did not know how to advertise. But I guarantee you, if we would have fixed those problems, it would have been extremely easy. Because exactly what I would do now is I would hire out an ad agency, like I do now with all my businesses. And then from there, I would end up going to a video creative agency. From there, we would get a crazy return on investment because the ad is so engaging. And then from there, we send them the website and they buy. Not to mention, I also know about direct response now. I never knew about that before. And I'm telling you, the way to make money is through direct response. Now, since you've heard about this actually segues into the next part of the video, which is going to be about the Rule of 1. The Rule of 1 has absolutely changed my life. And since I started to adopt it, everything in my life has started to change. Essentially, before we go on the computer, I want you to imagine this. You try to learn Spanish week 1. You try to learn Spanish week 1. Week 2, you try to learn German. Week 3, you learn Russian. And week 4, you learn French. Go back, it's now week 5, and then I want you to now try to speak fluid Spanish. Then on the other opposite, you have another guy where all he does is he does Spanish for 4 weeks straight, and then it's now week 5. And who do you think is gonna know more about Spanish? It's very obvious. Obviously the guy that did it for 5 weeks straight. But for some reason, when it comes to business, people think that the option 1 is what's gonna work in the long run. They think that the key to success is doing everything. But the funny thing is, what one of my millionaire mentors taught me is he says, "Aaron, it's so simple. You want to make $1 million, you just make one avatar. So that means you only sell to one kind of person. From there, you only advertise through one form of media. And then from there, you only have one product." And this is what this guy told me. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. He already did. Most of you guys message me and tell you guys you want to open up businesses. And when you start talking to me, the first thing I think to myself is, this person is never going to succeed because they're not doing the Rule of 1. And I'm going to show you what that is right now. So I'm not sure if the Rule of 1 is something real, but this is a term that I coined it as because it just helps me understand everything. Now I'm going to explain to you what I used to do in the past, and chances are what you're probably doing right now. It's probably the reason why you haven't succeeded yet. And now I'm explaining why only doing one thing is so much better. Okay, so you're doing dropshipping, affiliate marketing, ad agency, YouTube automation, and AI blog posts. What people don't understand is all these things require time. So realistically, even if he were to make his time equal, this means he only spent 20% of all of his free time on each of these activities. Versus the guy over here, person B, he's putting 100% of his time into the ad agency. If you were to just look at this simple numbers, this means, theoretically speaking, this guy's going to get 5 times the results of this person over here trying to do everything. Because what I'm saying is you cannot put all your focus. You can only focus on one thing at a time. Now let me show you the power behind this. And this is actually how I would do it. So this is giving you some more context. If I had an agency, and it was my only thing was, if I had an agency and I had to spend 100% of my time growing this is exactly what I would do. I would hire the best coaches in the world. From there, I would buy a proven system that works. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. That's what I tried to do for the longest time, and that's why I never succeeded. It wasn't until I ended up getting into some coaching group that I actually ended up figuring out my problems. Then from there, if I didn't have any money, I would do cold outbound outreach all day on social media. I would go on things like Facebook Ads Manager. I would go into Facebook groups. I would cold DM people on Instagram. From there, I would go on websites like ClickFunnels and look for people that needed help. I'm like, hey, are you struggling to get conversion to your funnels? I'll optimize your funnels and I'll optimize your ads. Because what you're doing is you're making yourself different from the marketplace. Now, for me personally, I sort of realized the power of one when I read this little book by, what's his name? By Malcolm Gladwell. Basically, he wrote this book called Outliers. Amazing book. It's really long for no reason at all. But I'll say the only chapter in that book you really need to read is something called, I think, like the 10,000 hour rule. Essentially, what this is about is the author talks about how in order to become a master of one thing, you need to spend 10,000 hours doing one thing. Now, to go back to our example from earlier, this means if we were to have 5 businesses, we'd only be able to put 2,000 hours realistically into all of them. But the problem is, in order to become a master in one thing, it takes a lifetime. Now, going back on the computer, I'm going to draw out a master chart and how easy it is to become a master, but how difficult it can be if you're doing multiple things versus if you were to do just one. Now, this is where things get crazy. Look at this real quick. I threw this out for you. It didn't take me that long to calculate all the math, but look at this. In 1 hour, in order to become a master, in 10,000 hours, it would take you 27 years. In 2 hours, you cut in half just by doing 2 hours. Now, if you look down this, I would say right down here, I would say this is the golden zone. To become a master in 5 years in anything is more than amazing. This is very realistic too. Working only 6 hours per day on this one thing is not that hard. 8 hours, and the best part about this, guys, is you might be thinking like, I can't do that and make money. You just answered my exact point. This is why you need to be in the season of, you need to learn before you can earn. And this is very simple too, because there's so many things you can do now where you literally get paid to learn. For example, you can try to get a job at an ad agency. For example, for me, I try to learn how to do sales by getting in to do high-ticket closing for somebody else. So the best part is you're learning with other people's money. So if you mess up, it doesn't matter. Just don't get fired. And then from there, obviously, or you can get a sales job. For example, if you want to become the best sales representative in the entire world and you want to have an infinite supply of money, do sales for 8 hours a day for 3 years. Basically 3 years and a half. And you will never go broke again a day in your life. Is it going to suck? Yes, it is. But you're going to be getting so much experience that you're going to be world class. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best way to go about making money. However, I am saying this is the simplest. I guarantee you, if you were to do sales for 5 years, you'd be one of the best in the world as long as you did it consistently and you constantly learn and improved. I absolutely guarantee it. And then over here, that's where we start to get the extremes. Like, working 12 hours per day on one thing is not even realistic, but I guarantee you, you're going to get results super quickly. Because let's put this in perspective. This means if you're going to be working for 12 hours, only 2 years, this means if you were to do this for 6 months, you would already be ahead of the majority of the competition. So honestly, even if you did this for 6 months, you'd be making way more money than everybody. And then you would know so much about it. You wouldn't be a master, but you could definitely at that point, you would have more than enough capital to hire out people to do the things that you're trying to do, and they would already be a master in the field. Now, this is just a little idea of why the Rule of One is so important. Because as we see here, in order to truly become the best in the world, I would say in order to be above average, you only need 1,000 hours doing one thing, which is not a lot. 1,000 hours is super easy, especially if you're working 8 hours. I don't know the exact math, but I'm assuming after you worked for about a year and a half on the 8-hour mark, you'd already have easily more than 1,000. And at that point, you can literally compete with anybody, because there's very subtle differences between the best in the world and the people that are just below the best. And if you ask me, I'd rather be just below the best so I can hire the people that are the best in the world. Because the reality is, guys, you run the business does not run you. I'm gonna make an entire video about that in the future, because for the longest time I was spending hours doing things, till eventually one day it clicked to me. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. You can always make money. You can never get your time back. So therefore, use your time wisely, guys. Do not go out here, wasting time, fucking hoes and doing drugs. I'm telling you, it's a complete waste of time. If anything, find a partner that you want to be with forever and do that. But do not waste your time sleeping around and doing drugs. It's not safe and it's not beneficial. But that's a video for a different day. So yeah, this is just a real quick recap of the rule 1. If you do one thing for the rest of your life, no one will be able to compete with you on that. I guarantee it. The next video, I'm going to be talking about how I would implement the rule 1, and if I lost everything, exactly how I would build a business all over again. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out.